It's really a horrible situation to be investigating a murder of a little boy who so closely reminds you of your dead child. And not just that, this investigation is unbelievably complicated. Every time there is something new, people are lying, they are gaslighting each other, you think you found the person, but then it's somebody else. And this happens over and over again. And that's the story of Jas, our main girl today. We are doing the Buckingham Murders for today's Bollywood Storybook. And this movie had me by my neck while I was watching it. Kareena Kapoor's Jas, she's a smart one. Smart, but she's depressed. All of us. But we'll talk about why she is depressed in a minute. Right now, she's reporting for her first day at the Wickham Police Department in the UK. The big boss of the police station sees her and says, "Oh yes, you are here. Good, it's all hands on deck situation. A 10-year boy has gone missing." This is the investigation that we are going to talk about. And it's day one of this investigation. Right now, the police or nobody knows that the boy has been murdered. So what happened? A 10-year-old boy went to school and never came back. His family looked around for a few hours and then they called the police in the evening. Now, Jas and her team are at their house to investigate. The investigation is led by Detective Inspector Hardy. So he is Jas's boss. So there is this big boss of the police station, Miller. Then there is Hardy and then a bunch of police officers helping him, including Jas. The first thing this team does is talk to Ishpreet's family, the missing boy. And the dad straight up goes on Jas's nerves within a minute. He's being quite an asshole and very rude to his wife. But maybe he's just really worried about his boy. Turns out Ishpreet was adopted 3 or 4 years back from India. So they brought him to UK when he was around 6 years old. After speaking to some of the family friends who were there, the team splits into 3. First is Sharon. She is Jas's new best friend at the police station. She goes and checks at the school and confirms that Ishpreet was definitely in the school that day. Second, Jas and Hardy, the detective inspector, they both team up to talk to Ishpreet's BFF. There's not a lot, but she does mention that the only thing that bothered Ishpreet was that his piano lesson kept getting cancelled. But third, this team, they go to the bus depot and they find that Ishpreet did get on the bus at the end of the school day, but instead of getting off at his regular stop near his house, he got off at a stop closest to the big park and the lake that they had. This park was basically a jungle. This happens at 8 p.m. When the police gather to the park's entrance with this big team and now they are going to search. They search all night. No Ishpreet. In the end, everybody leaves except for Hardy, the detective inspector and one other officer, Simon. These two continue to look for Ishpreet. Jas goes home and barely gets some sleep when she gets that call. Ishpreet's body has been found by Hardy and Simon. They found Ishpreet at the front seat of this car that was just standing near the lake. He was slightly strangled and there were some defensive marks on his collar and one of his finger was broken. Other than that, the main cause of his death was drowning. And the main culprit in the minds of the police officers is the person whose car that is. Jas is struggling with the news that the boy is now dead because her son, who was around Ishpreet's age, was also murdered. One day, Jas took her son out to play at a bowling alley. A drug addict enters the bowling alley, high on drugs and with a gun, and he starts shooting people. A lot of people get injured and only one person dies, Jas's son. This man then gets arrested and convicted and sentenced as well. But Jas is still struggling, and to have a fresh start, she moved here to Wickham. And her first case back is a murdered boy around the same age as her son. So she is going through it. And you know who notices this? Hardy, the detective inspector. One thing about Hardy, that he was being really rude to Jas this whole investigation where they had teamed up. But now he apologizes to Jas. Also, they have this moment where they talk about losing a loved one. Hardy implies how he also lost somebody. So they have like this good bonding moment. On the other hand, there is somebody else who is doing his own kind of bonding. It's the dad, Ishpreet's dad. He is having an affair. and he's so valiant about it that he won't even bother hiding it from his wife. The police team is focused on finding who that car belongs to, and they narrow it down to this one man. Turns out, on the day when Ishpreet was murdered, this man's nephew had borrowed the car and never returned it. They track the car through CCTV. They see that nephew borrow the car in the morning, and by the afternoon they track the car going in the park. The car never leaves. This nephew is a well-known drug addict. His name is Saqib, and he is arrested for murder of Ishpreet. And Saqib is just not helping himself at all. He's such a wannabe victim. The state gives him a lawyer, but he's ignoring him. The detective inspector asks him question and he's insulting him. That, I will always be an offender in your eyes. Bro, then tell your truth. Defend yourself. But that he doesn't want to do. But his lawyer comes through, okay? Even though Saqib is being an asshole to him. He says, hey, do you have a proper evidence? Yes. They found 2 DNA sets on the body. One matched to Saqib. But then again the lawyer tries, okay, fine, what is the motive? The police team finds the motive once they speak to Ishpreet's family, the dead boy's family. Apparently, Ishpreet's dad, the cheating husband, and Saqib's dad used to be business partner in the cheating husband's transport company. Something happened that the cheating husband doesn't want to tell, and their partnership broke up, and now the two of them just hate each other's guts. And Ishpreet's family, both his mom and dad, are convinced that Saqib did what he did to avenge his father. But Jas, our queen, she is smart. She says, okay, fine, there was some bad blood between your families, but isn't this too extreme? Saqib is also a teenager, around 19 years of age. Will he actually kill a boy just to take revenge for his father and his failing business? Ishpreet's mom says, oh, he's a drug addict, and you know what kind of those people are. So Ishpreet's family is convinced that yes, Saqib is the killer, but Jas isn't. But the problem is, even the police team seems to be convinced that Saqib is the one. They have Saqib driving the car. The body was found in that car. Saqib's DNA on the body, and now like a loose motive. All they need is a confession, and that comes from the man that Saqib was that entire day. This man's name is Naveeb. He is Saqib's closest friend, and he is also the son of the religious leader of that area. Now, to give some context, this makes the big boss of the police department really worried. And that's because for the last few months, in a different part of the country, there had been some communal violence that were going on. And this police inspector, he is determined to keep that out of this case. So he wants this thing to be solved quick. Luckily, he has some personal connection with the religious leader whose son they want to interrogate. So he quickly makes some calls and gets Naveeb in the police booth for the interrogation. And Naveeb talks. This is the final nail in Saqib's coffin. Naveeb says he and Saqib were at the park that day near the lake because they were purchasing some drugs. Instead of their usual dealer, this 10-year-old arrives. It's Ishpreet. Ishpreet was the boy who was asked by this drug dealer to supply drugs to Saqib and Naveeb. There is always a drug angle, I tell you. Now, Ishpreet gives them the drugs, but Saqib and Naveeb were 30 pounds short. Ishpreet asks for the drugs back. These two don't want to give it. And Saqib has this itch, and it's so unbearable that he grabs Ishpreet by his neck and drowns him in the lake. We as audience, that's all we see. Jas asks Naveeb to continue, and Naveeb says that after Saqib drowned the boy, they both dragged the body and put it in the car so that they can come back later for it and then put it in the canal later. Jas asks, Why didn't you do it right then? Oh, Saqib lost the key for the car. Then how did you open the door? Naveed makes some half-assed excuse that they pried the door open because it was an old car. And you can see Jas is not buying this. But the big boss of the police department is. And that's it. Saqib is convicted. The big boss is very happy. He's praising Jas for how she handled this interrogation. And he's just about ready to put a pretty bow on this investigation. That's when Jas had to raise her doubts. She tells Hardy and the big boss that she's not very sure about this. First of all, they just found out that Ishpreet was selling drugs. Shouldn't they explore that more? His backpack. It was never found. Where is it? And she still thinks that the motive Saqib has for killing is very loose. But surprisingly, it's Hardy, the detective inspector, who is very hell-bent on making Saqib the convict. He kept telling Jas that Saqib is a drug addict. And what do drug addicts do when they need a quick fix? They can do anything. And he crosses a line when he says that a drug addict killed your son, Jas, and now you seem hell-bent on other drugs addict killing more sons. And that's it. Before the big boss could stop her, Jas has punched Hardy straight in the face. Like boom, gushing blood like fountain. Deserved. Anyway, Jas is now on desk duty. She was this close of being suspended. She is not allowed to work on this case anymore. And something funny happens after this. She goes home and in her frustration, she goes to her backyard and she screams loudly. And Kareena Kapoor's voice was so high-pitched in this scream for some reason that it came out so funny. I burst out laughing. Communal violence was bound to happen and a bunch of Muslim houses get arson that night in the locality. The next day as well, Saqib's family, the boy who got arrested, his family, and Ishpreet, the boy who got murdered, his family. They have a very intense confrontation. And both have their family, friends and community members with them. So they were this close from starting a riot. It was really sad to see from their conversations with each other. It was very apparent that these two families were very close to each other. They also had a thriving business once. And now they have come to throwing hands at each other. Now, this has been going on for a bit, so let's talk about it. The big boss, throughout this investigation, was trying to pull Hardy from the case a little, especially when Saqib was their primary suspect. Turns out, Hardy, the detective inspector, and Saqib have history. Remember when Hardy had a conversation with Jas about losing somebody? Turns out for Hardy, it was his sister. When she was a teenager, she got some drugs from Saqib and one other person. She OD'd on those drugs and now she's in a vegetative state. Saqib was a minor at that time. And he got a deal wherein if he could rat out the other person, he could walk free. And since then, Hardy always had a grudge on Saqib. I think that was a pretty big reason. He should have pulled from that case the very moment Saqib was the prime suspect, but apparently he was still working. Jas finds out about all this while on desk duty. She has continued to investigate the case secretly, and before she could take all that she has found to the big boss, she wants an airtight case. She takes some time off when her very supportive father comes to visit her. Good parental figures, we'll love to see that. There is also this weird scene where there is a boy around 20 years of age. He is very good friends with Ishpreet's dad, the cheating husband. But behind his back, this boy makes advances on his wife. The wife rejects him and throws him out of the house. While the husband, he goes to meet his mistress. And the police team, they are still tracking him. And they take pictures of him meeting the mistress. While all this is happening, Jas has finally accumulated everything that she needs and takes that meeting with the big boss. She has found that Ishpreet's body was wet because he drowned in the lake. Then Saqib and Naveed dragged that body and put him in the car. Okay, fine, Saqib was an idiot. But even if they did, wouldn't the car seat be wet? Wouldn't there be some watermark at least? But there was nothing. Another thing, Naveed's testimony that actually got Saqib convicted A rational person could see that Naved was lying, at least about a few things. Also, Ishpreet has an uncle who was a known drug dealer. Ishpreet was selling drugs, his backpack went missing, and why the hell was Detective Hardy still on the case? All of this was enough for the big boss to arrange such that Saqib in the prison would get to talk to Jas for 5 minutes. And Jas emotionally manipulates Saqib, says, oh my god, your family is this, your family is that, think about your mother, think about your father, think about your little brother, to convince Saqib to start spilling. And Saqib spills. You're not going to believe this. Turns out Saqib took the fall to save Naved from his dad, the boy whose testimony got him convicted. He wanted to save Naved because Naved was his boyfriend. These two were at that park, yes. To buy drugs, yes. Ishpreet came to sell them drugs, yes. They were short of 30 quids, yes. Did Saqib try to drown Ishpreet? Yes. But did Ishpreet die? No. Saqib just wanted to scare Ishpreet and it worked. Ishpreet ran away. Then Saqib and Naved proceeded to get high and then went skinny dipping in the lake. While they were swimming, something heavy hit them. It was Ishpreet's body. The boy was dead. They drag Ishpreet to the shore, get dressed, and in all this, Saqib actually really lost the key to the car. So they couldn't use the car, so they both run away. So they didn't kill Ishpreet, neither did they put the body in the car. So somebody killed Ishpreet, threw the body in the lake. These two got the body out, ran away, and after that somebody returned and put the body in their car. Now we are about to get the answer to the second half of who put the body in the car. Jas goes to Naved's house and gives this idiot boy a reality check. She clearly tells Naved that Saqib is going in for life. And Naved freaks out. Naved was under the impression that Saqib would be incarcerated for like a couple of years and then he would be back, good as new. Like, this boy is an idiot. Like, he's convicted for killing a child. Anyway, we see Naved threatening somebody on the phone for lying to him about how much time would Saqib have to do and that he wants to meet them right now. He meets them around the same place where Ishpreet's body was found. These two people who are now threatening Naved are Detective Inspector Hardy and another officer from the police station, Detective Simon. Detective Hardy hatched everything to get Saqib arrested for the crime that he committed against his sister. And now he is trying to kill Naved. But what he did not anticipate that our Jas, the main girl, she is too five-head to fall for this. She had planned everything with Naved. And now Naved, Detective Hardy and Inspector Simon are surrounded by the entire police force, including the big boss. But Detective Hardy, he is not going to give up. He has a knife on Naved's throat, and when that doesn't work, he tries to run away. And that doesn't work either. And then he ends up shooting himself. Like, man, didn't you say you did all this for your sister who is in a vegetative state? Shouldn't you be alive? Shouldn't, no matter where you are, even if you are incarcerated, shouldn't you try to be alive for your sister? To take care of her, to at least to make sure that she is taken care of. He is just as idiot as Naved. And now the police force bully Officer Simon to give them the truth. What had happened that the morning when Ishpreet went missing, Inspector Hardy saw Saqib borrow his uncle's car. Then later, when they were searching in the park, Hardy saw that car abandoned and light bulbs started flicking in his little head. Later, remember, he sent everybody home after a long night of search, and only he and Simon continued to search. They eventually found Ishpreet's body, but not in the car, laying somewhere near the lake. They dragged that body in the car and positioned it like that. And he asked Simon to trust him and to do this one thing for him. And Simon thought he was being a buddy and continued to play in this stupid ruse. This is why Hardy was so pissed when Jazz started doubting Naveed's testimony. And now, for being a good detective, Jazz is made the primary investigator to find Ishpreet's killer. Remember, we only know who found the body in the lake, Saqib and Naveed, who got the body out of the lake. Then who moved the body from the edge of the lake to the car, Simon and Detective Inspector Hardy. But we still don't know who killed Ishpreet. And Jazz is sussing the dad. Now this dad, remember he had a transport business? So that business is in the bog at the moment. And he took around $200,000 life insurance policy on Ishpreet. This money was enough, according to Jazz, to start his business twice over. And Jazz and her team are on his case. They're investigating his business, talking to his friends, family, former friends, enemies, everyone. She wants to see this guy behind bars. And as audience, even I wanted the murderer to be dad because he's such a scum. He's meeting his mistress and she says he's the strongest guy she knows. Isn't cheater a quintessential coward? Anyway, Jazz's wish to see his cheating dad behind bars come true very soon, but for a very different reason. Remember the boy Prithvi, the 20-year-old who was very good friends with the cheating husband but made advances on his wife behind his back? Yeah. So one day the cheating husband gets home and hears his wife. She's yelling, get out, I don't want you to be here. And hears Prithvi's voice saying, but I love you, please, I love you. And the cheating dad books in, grabs Prithvi and starts beating him. Prithvi tries to run, but not far enough. The cheating dad finally gets his hand on Prithvi and his violent tendencies ends up winning and he smashes Prithvi to death right on the kitchen floor. And that's it, there is no escaping this. He gets arrested for the murder. Apparently, Prithvi, this boy, had no family when he was young. So this family took him in and he stayed with them for a few years when he was just a little boy. Then something happened. He started getting close to the mother and the mother ignored it at first. But in recent time, things have gotten a little suspicious. And she admits that today was actually when Prithvi completely crossed the line. And lucky for her, her husband arrived because she was that scared. But apparently not that lucky because he killed him. The husband admits to murdering Prithvi, but Jazz wants to know if he murdered Ishpreet as well. And he denies that. He is offended that Jazz would even imply that he would kill his son. So Jazz tries a different angle. She interrogates the mistress. The mistress is the piano teacher. Remember the piano lesson from the beginning that kept cancelling? It was because Ishpreet saw his dad go into the piano teacher's room and not come out for a very long time. And he was smart enough to put two and two together. The mistress interrogation didn't give her what Jazz wanted. But then she receives news that the second DNA found on Ishpreet's body. Remember, there was one DNA that was never identified. The other DNA was of Saqib. But one was still unidentified and people thought it was Naveed because he was with Saqib the whole time. But no. Are you ready for this? The second DNA is of Prithvi, the guy who died. And Jazz maybe already knows that he killed Ishpreet and he is not the mastermind. And she already knows who is. They search Prithvi's house and then they find the backpack, the drugs that Ishpreet was selling, and an old-timey phone. They track one number and they find the owner of the number trying to escape to the airport. They grab this person, put them in the interrogation room. It's Ishpreet's mom. She got Prithvi to kill Ishpreet. Remember how Ishpreet was adopted? Turns out it was entirely the dad and his mom's decision to adopt a son. The wife was never consulted. Throughout her marriage, she kept getting beaten by the father and he kept cheating on her. And now he wanted her to be a maid for his son and his mother. According to this mom, that's her prerogative. And she just wanted all of this to end. She hated Ishpreet for being so loved by the dad. She wanted to take away everything that this cheating dad loved, starting with the son. This psychopath, the mistress during her investigation refers to the wife as psycho. Damn, she was on point. This psychotic woman manipulated a young Prithvi. She groomed this young boy. Then later coerced him to kill Ishpreet, to kill her adoptive son. And later, when Prithvi started getting scared because of the investigation and he wanted to run away with her to Paris, she manipulated the situation such that they both would be in the bedroom. She went to the washroom to make a call to her husband. And then when she came back, she timed it such that her husband hears the argument, gets mad and reacts. So her loose thread, that was Prithvi, dies. And she admits to all of this. And you can see Jazz, she's so intelligent, but she's trying to wrap her head around what this woman is doing, what her motives were. Jazz cannot understand this woman, and honestly, I do not either. But maybe because we are normal. Anyway, the movie ends with the dad getting punished for murder, the mom getting punished for murder, and the rest of the community coming together to honor Ishpreet's life. There is a moment where Jazz gets an insurance payout for her own son, which is almost the same amount that the cheating dad had on Ishpreet. Jazz takes one look at the letter and burns it. She is not over the trauma of losing her child, and I don't think she'll ever will be. And honestly, I get that. You lose a child, you have the whole life pass of being depressed. That's a horrible thing to happen to anyone. Expecting her to have an happy ending is just unreasonable. And that's how the Buckingham Murders end. What do you think? I really loved Jazz. She was so smart throughout all this. She was going through it. But she kept her work ethic. She was so good at her job, which was so impressive. I want Saqib to break up with Naveed and find somebody better, because this boy, he's an idiot and a coward. Saqib deserves better. Jazz has her work bestie Sharon, and those two were really good throughout the movie. When Jazz became the lead investigator, Sharon was definitely her right-hand person. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. Miller, the big boss, he was fired back when Hardy, the detective inspector, killed himself, because the big boss should have taken off Hardy from the case the moment Saqib was the suspect. Accountability. This movie forced me to pay attention. At one point when Simon and Hardy were arrested, I thought, okay, the movie is going to end now. But no, there were 40 more minutes. And those 40 minutes were so good. They never tried to outwit the viewer when it comes to who done it. They just took us on a very good roller coaster ride, and I enjoyed it a lot. I would highly recommend you all check it out. It's very beautifully shot and the acting is great, and it's a good experience that I believe everybody should have. It's on Netflix. This movie punished every person that you wanted to see punished. And that's just so satisfying. Like, if you enjoyed this, subscribe if you like this kind of content. Here is another movie from my Bollywood Storybook, and I'll see you next time. Bye!